Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. Welcome to another webinar with the Assistive Technology Advocacy Center and DRNJ. We are happy to have Adam and Brian back with us. Welcome, both of you. Thank you for being here. When you are ready, you can take it away.
Okay, thanks very much, Jesse. And it's great to see everybody today. Brian and I are looking forward to talking to you over the next hour or so about supports for note taking. It's a subject that both of us have worked extensively with and close to our hearts, because note taking is so important, as we'll get into the reasons why note taking is also very difficult, as well as a big area for assistive technology, because lots of students have struggled with note taking for sure. I'm just going to share my screen and we will jump right in. All right, can you see my screen?
Loading, yep.
Okay. So today we're going to talk about AT supports for note taking for students transitioning to college. So we're talking about high school students who are getting ready for graduation. Today's presentation is funded by the Assistive Technology Advocacy Center of Disability Rights New Jersey. Thank you, ATAC. And definitely check out their website. Lots of great resources there. Today's presentation will be recorded and archived on ATAC's YouTube channel. And also check out their free access to the ATI Learning Portal. In the chat is a link to the Google Drive folder that has today's documents, today's slideshow, etc. So that's the link to the Google Drive for your shared folder. The next webinar that I'll be doing with ATAC is on Tuesday, July 15th. It'll be an overview of artificial intelligence as assistive technology for young adults with disabilities, and I'll be co-presented with the folks at SPAN. Also wanted to let you know that we just got the date for the 2025 AT Summit for Education. It's going to be done jointly between ATAC and the College of New Jersey. And that's going to be on October 7th, 2025. I also put the link for that in the chat. So you can go to the page for that for registration. And or if you're interested in presenting, the link for the proposal form to fill out. So again, that's October 7th, 2025. And if you've never been to the AT Summit, I really encourage you to go. It's New Jersey's statewide assistive technology conference. It's been going on for, I think, 8 years, I think, so far. And it's a great way to learn about assistive technology as well as network with your fellow New Jerseyan assistive technology geeks and nerds. So I am proudly one of those.
Me too.
And a little bit about myself. I'm an assistive technology consultant. I work with children and adults with disabilities, providing evaluations, training, ongoing support, webinars, workshops, professional development, modifications and customizations. And I work in person in northern and central New Jersey and New York City and anywhere else remotely.
And I'm Brian Friedlander. Also, like Adam, I'm an assistive tech consultant. I provide evaluations, work with a lot of schools and families. Um, Pretty much service the Morris County, Warren County, Sussex County, and doing a lot more work virtually as well. And both Adam and I do provide like free half-hour consultations if you want to just kind of have a quick talk and see how we might be able to help you or your child, be more effective in their school, supporting their IEP and their academic programs.
Yeah, and the free consultations are remote only, so that's by phone, Zoom, Meet, etc. So if you'd like to schedule one of those, contact Brian or I, and we'll set up a time to have your consultation. Important part of using assistive technology or selecting assistive technology is to try it out. And New Jersey's Assistive Technology Lending Center, which is funded by ATAC, is housed at Advancing Opportunities, and here's their web link. They have all kinds of assistive technology available to borrow for free, with free shipping in both directions. So if you want to try out something that's expensive in your district or you don't have one, check out the AT Lending Center. They
Yeah,
have they have great resources.
if I could just put a plug, I was doing an evaluation and needed some equipment, and they got it right out to me. I was able to use it, and then the return label was in the box, and I just, was done. Wrapped it up, went to the post office, and I was done. So it really is a great service, especially if you want to trial something in your school or even in your home.
Yeah, that's great. Easy peasy.
Yep.
We'd like to get a little bit of information about you and your role with assistive technology. So if you could take 2 minutes to scan this QR code and go to the Menti poll page 3 and just tell us a little bit about yourself. What's your role? Are you a person with a disability, family member, educator, therapist, etc.? So if you could take 2 minutes, scan the QR code or follow the link and fill that out, it'd be greatly appreciated. And let's just take a quick look at our Menti poll. And a couple of you have done that already, so thanks very much. Um, and they are anonymous, so we're not collecting any information about you, just really to get an overall feel for who's here today. And so far, it looks like we have mostly teachers or folks that work at schools seem to be the most, and I'll show you the QR code again, just in case you didn't catch it. And thank you for those who filled out page 3 so far. Now, every presentation I like to put in a plug for AEM, Accessible Educational Materials. And this is providing educational materials that are accessible to students with a wide variety of challenges, disabilities, preferences, etc. And AEM is something that can be done for individual student, or it could be done on a school-wide basis. And that's really making sure that your materials, your worksheets, your textbooks, your movies, your audio clips are accessible in more than one format. So for instance, if you have paper textbooks, you should also make sure that you have digital copies of textbooks for students who have challenges with reading, challenges with holding a textbook and turning pages, or other reading related challenges. AEM is a big part of what Brian and I do when working with schools, is making sure that the content and the materials are accessible to a student with disability. So we just like to get a little bit of feedback from you, wondering about the note-taking supports that you like. And I'm wondering if you could, in the chat window, write some items that you like to use for note-taking supports. And I'm just going to, whoops, fill out this list as you give them to me, or maybe Brian will, so we can type some of your ideas in here, things that you like to use for note-taking. All right, we're getting a good list here. Thank you very much. Uh, Brian is typing as fast as he can. Um,
That's a great list.
yeah, great. Any others to add to this?
Um, oh, okay. I don't know that. That's a good start. And we're going to be talking
Okay.
about a lot of these today. So thanks for giving us some feedback. And let me put clean in there and
Got it.
glean. There we go. Good. Great list. Great start. All right. So Adam, I'm going to let you advance to the next.
Okay,
For
Brian.
students that are transitioning to college, these are generally kind of some of the approved accommodations, and I think it's important. I think that both the students and their families may not be aware that there is a big difference between having an IEP and then having an accommodation when they move to college. So typically, students can get extended time for tests, or they can take them in a non-distracting environment. But it also means that the student needs to do some planning. They're not going to be having a special ed teacher or a parent who's going to make all the arrangements. So planning and executive functioning is really important. Many times for students that need supports and accommodations for note taking, they can provide copies, maybe even provide it in person or a student note taker. And I have to say that's becoming less and less of an option as many of the colleges, disability centers are asking students to use technology, certainly providing accessible textbooks that can be accessed with text to speech. And one of the big components that's a lot different than being in the public schools is students are given the ability, or they're allowed to do audio recordings, which sometimes is shunned in K-12 environments. So students can take advantage of audio recording technology that now utilizes ChatGPT that can provide summaries, mind maps. They can certainly use text to speech, audiobooks. And then some of the other note taking tools might be smart audio recorders, or using software like Lean, or even using the LiveScribe pen, which I'll talk about with some new developments with LiveScribe as well. But these are just some. So again, these are going to be accommodations that are approved. In many cases, colleges will not make modifications of tests or other parts that are part of the syllabus, but these are generally the most common accommodations for students who are registered with the Disability Center.
That's a really good point, Brian. And one thing I'd like to add, and again, it's again one of these unspoken things that really changes going from high school to college, and that is learning how to how to be a self-advocate. In high school, K-12 schools, it's the school's responsibility to make sure the student has what they need through the IEP process.
Correct.
In college, that paradigm gets flipped. It's the individual's responsibility to let the school know, in this case, the college,
Right.
that there are certain accommodations that they need. The college is not going to ask them necessarily.
No. And
Um,
the,
and that's
and
a hard skill to learn.
Yeah, and the college may not even know. And it's really, if you look at some of the statistics, a very large percentage of students that had IEPs or involved in special education, K-12, do not register with disability services when they get to college. And so then they're not afforded those accommodations. So it's really important to impress upon the students that need the accommodations that they need to register with the disability center once they've gotten into the university or college of their choice.
Yeah. In fact, one thing that I've noticed this year is I'm getting more requests to do AT evals for college seniors because they specifically want a list of technologies that the student could use when they go to college.
Yes.
And having something like that, even a list of the technologies that the student used in their junior and senior year, and have them bring that with them, when they request services in college can really make a big difference because you
Right.
don't want to start from scratch. And that's really a lot of what we're talking about today. You don't want to have to start from scratch when you start college. You want to be able to use as many tools as possible that you utilized, in high school, because that's
Yeah.
just going to be easier.
Right. And the other thing too is a lot of times students may be unaware of what those tools are, as you said, Adam. So it's good if they can get some familiarity or have some idea of what the tool sets are and their features, so that when they get to campus, they could, you know, uh, communicate with the disability services department about what tools they feel would be best for them.
Yeah. And just as a little bit of an overview about what note taking is, I mean, there's two main types of note taking. There's lecture-based note taking, which is what we're going to be focusing on today. But there's also reading materials-based note taking, which is also important. Read chapter 5 and take notes on it because it's going to be on the exam. I mean, that's a very common activity in college. But the other thing that's I think many high school students are not necessarily aware of is that there's at least 6 sub skills that are all important parts of classroom note taking. That's summarizing, listening comprehension, writing while listening, organizing, prioritizing, and writing. So all of these skills are important. And if you have a struggle in one or more of these sub skills, note taking is going to be difficult. Um, and in the school districts that teach note taking, the ones that I've seen, they will actually break down note taking into these sub skills and they'll work on them individually to make sure that all the sub skills are working for the student, and then they can put them together into the whole activity that we call note taking.
It's important, note taking is really, I mean, it's a lifelong skill that's really important from middle school, high school, and certainly college, and also when you're employed. And note taking is a cognitively very demanding skill, and oftentimes Adam and I were talking about it. I mean, I'm just reflecting back on my high school and college experience. I don't think anyone really spent the time to actually kind of work through how to take notes. And I think more and more students are definitely need coaching and direct instruction on how to do it. I think Adam and I probably grew up in the era of osmosis. We sort of learned it on our own. But I think many students need, to learn how to do it, and also need to learn how to do it with some of these tools and strategies that we're going to be talking about because there is a really big cognitive load for the students that we work with that have language-based learning disabilities, attention deficit disorder, may have some of the students maybe even have dysgraphia, fine motor difficulties. So this is a challenging area for them, and some of these tools and strategies can be very effective so that they can be more effective in their learning.
So what are some reasons, and I think Brian, you started talking about that. What are some reasons that students with disabilities have extra difficulty with note taking? And let's just emphasize, and I think we've kind of said this already, note taking is really hard for everybody. So if you have an extra challenge because of your disability, it's going to make note taking even more difficult. So if you have challenges with listening comprehension, processing speed, executive function skills such as summarizing, prioritizing, organizing, having an overall note-taking strategy, writing, either the physical or the cognitive part, um, processing and writing while you're listening at the same time, and focus and attention. This includes lots of students with a wide variety of disabilities for sure. Um, One thing that I think Brian and I would both agree on is that supplemental instruction and note taking is a critical piece because, of course, we're AT specialists and we believe strongly that assistive technology can help. But by itself, without the strategies, without the instruction, without the understanding the techniques, the technology can only bring you so far. So you really need to have both. You need to have the direct instruction and note-taking strategies and techniques with the technologies that support those, working together. And I think practice, lots of practice is also an element that I don't see as many schools providing for students as I wish they would. Now, the process of matching the right note-taking tools to a student can take some twists and turns. But one strategy, one approach that works is start with this determining what's the student's best writing method. Are they better with paper and pencil? Are they better with typing? Better with voice recording or scribing to an adult? And then look for a technology platform that supports that preferred writing method and also look at the existing note-taking supports in the school district because many districts do have a variety of note-taking supports. So make sure you're taking advantage of those or the techniques that are being provided by teachers. And typically this happens in middle school. I think that's where most of your note-taking instruction is occurring that I've seen. Brian, when are you usually seeing, note-taking instruction in districts that do it?
I would probably say middle school would be a good starting point. Though it may happen, in the fifth grade as well. But I think, Adam, what we're talking about is trying to find that good fit between the tool and the child's preferences and how they best learn is really important.
Yeah. Yeah. So on the topic of practicing uh, lecture note taking, I really like using TED Talks,
Mhm.
TED Talk videos because they're on a huge variety of topics. A student can pick a topic that they like, and the TED Talks tend to be organized like a college lecture. They're usually presented by people that are noted in their field, and they're presented logically and clearly. And you can do a split screen on your device where half the screen is the TED Talk video and the other half is let's say a Google Doc or some other word processing document. And in the beginning, you might want to start and stop as needed, but hopefully over time and with practice, you could take notes without pausing the video. That's kind of the goal here.
And some students might like to use YouTube as well, which maybe is not as structured, but can provide a good experience. And again, you might be able to start out finding a 3-minute YouTube video to get started in the process.
And here's just a list of different strategies that are taught to support note taking, include digital handwriting, type notes, sketchnoting, organizing notes via outlines or idea maps, um, organized note-taking documents, capturing speech either from recording or real-time transcriptions, annotating slide presentations. This is a very common method where students get a copy of the PowerPoint or Google Slides and they type their own notes on the slides, sharing teacher-created notes, and supported note-taking. Now, I'd just like to pause a minute here before we start getting to the examples to see if there's any questions or uh, comments that anyone would like to add before we jump into the specific tools. Okay, I don't see anything in the chat. So I guess we'll just jump right in. Okay, so low-tech supports could be Cornell notes, which have been around for a long time, sketchnoting, note-taking templates, skeleton notes, and copies of notes.
Mhm. The other thing too is a lot of times, especially with Cornell note taking, you'll find templates if you're using e-ink devices, or even if you're using like Rocketbook. A lot of these other platforms have integrated Cornell notes into the process, making it easy for students to utilize on different platforms.
Yeah, and if you've never looked at Cornell Notes, you should definitely check it out. I mean, it's been around forever, but it's still a really great technique for classroom note taking, and that's why people still use it. It works. Not for everybody, but for some students, it really helps a lot.
Yeah. If you look at
Um,
if you look at the template on the screen, you'll see that students can have like sort of key ideas in that the left column. Then in the middle they can put more ideas and words, and then the whole idea at the end at some point during after the lecture, the students summarize the notes for that particular lecture.
so just going to take a quick look at sketchnoting. Sketchnoting is just a way, a more creative and multimodal way of taking notes. We'll just watch this for a minute or so.
Visual note taking. I'm going to show you a few more examples in this short animated section. Sketchnoting is a process where you try and draw what is being said, and you probably draw who is saying it. There's a picture of me talking to you now. You try and visualize the key points. By drawing, use your sketchbook. You might want to use a digital drawing tablet, or you could just use a large sheet of paper. It takes a bit of practice to get used to it and for you to build up your confidence, so don't be too fussy. And it's certainly okay to make a few mistakes on the way. You can make sketch notes about all kinds of things. Things you read, things that you're researching, podcasts or YouTube films you've watched, or actually things that you're thinking about in terms.
And the other thing that's nice about sketchnoting is you could also do it in a word processing program because you could use different fonts. You could use different color fonts. You can do underlining and bolding. You can add symbols. So you could either do it by hand-drawn versions or you can do it on typed note-taking with typing as well as handwriting. Um, the next method is just using a word processing document with bullets or numbered lists. You can do sketchnoting. You can do free typing. And for many students, this is going to be the easiest and fastest way to support the note-taking process. If your students don't know about bullets and numbers and about outlining, they definitely should know because outlining is one of these techniques that's good for so many different activities. I think it's a universal skill that all students should be learning how to do.
And the other thing too, Adam, I mean, teachers can drop in these templates ahead of time and push them through Classroom or through, some sort of file sharing. And I think we talk about maybe a little bit later how, teachers can give students some content already in that outline, and then the students can then, add additional information too as they're listening to it. So they don't not doing the whole thing, but they're sort of filling it in as they go along.
Absolutely. In fact, I included a template that I created a couple years ago as a guided note template,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a generic template, has a main idea, supporting idea,
Right. That's
details, and
great.
examples, and
Right.
just provides some structure, and the student fills in the blanks.
Right.
It's in the shared folder if you're interested. And that's what I just talking about, note-taking templates. You can also use Google Slides or PowerPoint slideshows, and the teacher is giving the structure of the lecture, and the student is adding the details while the teacher is discussing it. So
Mm.
again, this idea of providing the structure and the student is putting in the details. Um, And I think it's important in general for students to be as active as possible with note taking because I've only encountered maybe a handful of students who could just sit and listen and be able to remember the content of a lecture. It's very rare to find someone that can do that. So it's important for students to do some writing, even if it's just a keyword or a couple of words or a couple of sentences, because that's really a key element in the ability to remember and process
And
what
I
the teacher is
yeah.
saying.
And I think too, it's when they're using templates, either PowerPoint or Google Slides. I mean, teachers can also include images to help stimulate the students' thinking, as they're taking notes.
Right. That's a great point. Now, one technique that I've used with students who want to do some typing, but they might not be fast enough to keep up with the lecture is to is to pair that person's Google Doc or share that Google Doc with a teacher's aide or a note-taking support person and on two devices sharing the same document. So the student can type whatever they can type, and the aide is supplementing that so that at the end of the class, the lecture notes are pretty comprehensive. So again, that could be a shared Google Doc on two devices, etc. Um, now there's a number of graphic organizer programs that could also be used for note taking if a student likes more of a web or idea map approach. And one of those is MindMap for Google Drive. Excuse me. If you're not familiar with this, it's a program that does integrate with Google Drive and Google Documents, and you can export your web in outline form right into a Google Doc.
Let's see. What happened to the video?
I don't know.
Interesting.
Question. It's
Um,
on the slide. You
yeah,
want me to open that?
hit the slideshow again. Oh, there we go. So, the name of this program is AOA, and it's a full-featured mind mapping application, also with whiteboard, and also you can students can also use it for task managing. It's web based, so it runs within just about any browser. This could be a great tool because using this AOA uses AI to help students generate ideas, whether it's for writing or even note taking. So if a student knew ahead of time that they were walking into a art history class or a science class, they could have AOA begin to generate some ideas automatically for them. I'm going to actually, Adam, if you could play the video for a little bit just to give them an idea. Hi, this is Dr. Friedlander, and in this short demo, I'd like to show you AOA, which is a mind mapping application with some really exciting features. I was kind of intrigued how they integrated AI into the mind mapping application, so I wanted to show you that. So I'm going to create a new map, and you can see that it can generate ideas. So right over here, I can put my prompt. So I can say, generate a mind map about maybe the Beatles. And I'll click generate. Now it's using the AI to generate that map. And you can see that it you can stop it here. You can stop it here. Just keep it here for a second. So just wanted to, so a student who wants to be proactive could easily generate a mind map before the class starts on a historical event, scientific information, and use that as a starting point. You can also go like mind map. You can also take this and move it, make it an outline, and bring it into Microsoft Word or Google Docs. So this could be a great tool not only for writing, but also for creating notes. And it does have some templates to allow the students to gives them a starting point for note taking using mind mapping as a strategy. Could escape out of that. Any questions or any questions?
This is Jessie. Hi. I have
Hi,
one
Jess.
question or more of maybe a half a question, half a comment.
Dr. Friedlander,
Uh,
and in this short demo,
do teachers, have you heard of ever that students have a problem with um, teachers perhaps seeing for example, you mentioned the sketch note-taking
yes.
process. And I can think back to when I was an undergrad and someone was using um, like markers and whatnot to take notes, that the teacher actually stopped them and asked that they not, kind of use coloring and markers and whatnot to aid in their note taking. Has there ever been any comments that you've heard about this?
Never
I
heard that.
I haven't, but again, it raises a point that a lot of times when students are say utilizing any of these different strategies, that it would be an approved accommodation through the Disability Services Department. So that would be important, and also it's be important for the faculty member to know. I think it's really important. We were talking about advocacy, that students, when they get to college and they do have the accommodations, that they do, speak to the professors, at some point at the beginning of the class, to explain to them, what tools and strategies they're using, so that they understand what they're doing. And I think it's really important. Being a faculty member, students would often, engage me in conversations early on in the semester to say, these are my accommodations. And I would get a copy of their accommodation, so I would understand what I needed to do to accommodate for their learning preferences.
Thank you.
Let's go past that. Oh,
Okay. Another good note-taking support is OneNote, and this is especially good for school districts that are in the Office 365 environment, because OneNote is usually included in that suite. And but even if you're in the Google world, OneNote is a really nice note-taking program. I mean, it's designed specifically for taking notes, and there's just a wealth of really cool features packed into it, as well as a lot of math tools, just FYI. It's a great system for organizing your notes and your documents.
yeah, I mean, if you're using I would say a Windows device, or even an iPad with OneNote, you can use the stylus. And as Adam said, it's got some really strong um, handwriting recognition, and also a lot of mathematical support. So a student can go from handwriting formulas to actually having it be transcribed, which is really fantastic. And it also can solve mathematical equations inside, and it synchronizes across all your various tools. So if you're using an iPad or an iPhone or a Mac or Windows, it synchronizes across all the platforms.
Um, if you're on an iPad, and you want to do digital note-taking, digital writing with a stylus or an Apple Pencil, I would recommend GoodNotes or Notability. They're both really great apps. Um, for and the thing that's nice about them is you can digitally handwrite, you can type, and Notability will also record audio. So if you're in a district that doesn't allow recording audio, you might want to stick with GoodNotes because it does not have the audio recording feature, but they both have really great organization systems for organizing your notes into folders, and I think GoodNotes calls them notebooks. So, that aspect of keeping your notes organized is a super important part of note taking, and both these apps do a nice job. Um, and Brian, I'm hoping you can chime in on this, but one of the reasons that we've included Glean is that many colleges are are working with Glean. They use Glean, and they on a regular basis provide it as a note-taking accommodation to their students. And the thing that's cool about Glean is professors can upload their PowerPoints right into the Glean environment. And when the student opens it up, they're going to see the slides as well as the audio transcription of the lecture. And after the lecture, they can ask the transcription through AI tools, specific questions, get summaries, um, have to-do lists created, and a whole wealth of of tools built into the Glean environment. So, um, unless Brian wants to add something, I wanted to show just a real
Yeah,
quick
I
video
just want
about
to add
Glean.
that in early June, Glean, its name is changing to Genio Presents. Adam, if you refresh the presentation, so it's going to be called Genio Present, and that's going to change sometime the beginning of June. It'll still have the same look and feel, nothing, but I think they're looking to build out the platform. They've added a tremendous number of features over the last year, so everything from full audio transcripts. They've also added quizzing feature, so students can quiz themselves on the lectures, and of course, it does all the ability to synchronize the audio to each individual slide. One of the important things really to remember with this technology is that it's really important as one of the accommodations that students are given the slide decks ahead of time, whether it's a Google slide deck or PowerPoint. Um, Glean can not only read those natively, but also students can import them in PDF format. So this technology is most effectively used when students have the slide decks ahead of time, which sometimes can present a problem for students that I've worked with, and it's something important to stress to faculty as to why it's important for them to get these slide decks ahead of time. So in order they could really take advantage of Glean. Glean is one of these applications that many students, many colleges have master licenses for, and they will loan out licenses to students that need the accommodation. So it's important that when students get onto the college or university, that they ask if they do have a master license for Glean so they can take advantage of it. The other thing too is there is a 30-day trial, and I think, as Adam was saying earlier, I think it's really important for students to have some experience and trial this in high school, so they can get a feel for it and see if it's something that they would like to continue to use in college. Because if the college has it and the student doesn't make sometimes a reference that they want to use it, they may not gain access to it. So it's really important with that 30-day trial, even though it does include audio recording. I think it's important for teachers to cut out some time in an environment so that students can practice and get a sense for the feature set.
Yeah. Um, and in addition, if districts or families, can afford, in that senior year you can get a private subscription or an
Correct.
individual subscription to Glean. So there are some high schools that, are willing to say, okay, we're going to get a 1-year subscription for this student or a 6-month subscription. You can do it by the month. So the student can hit the ground running because we know the college they're going to has Glean. So let's
Right.
get them ready. So it's
Yep.
all very doable with a little bit of planning.
Correct.
So let's just take a quick video, a look at the introduction video to Glean. Whoops. Here it is. All right. Short demo. Oops.
Let's
All right.
take a quick look at how it works. Glean is a handy note-taking app that helps you study smarter. You can use it anywhere, anytime, even when you're offline. Let's take a quick look at how it works. A Glean event is where you'll capture audio, import slides, and add notes. Audio appears as blocks of speech, with gaps whenever there's a pause. As everything is being recorded, you can fully engage in the moment without trying to write everything down. Instead, tag key moments in your recording using text notes, headings, labels, and slides, sending them straight to your notes feed as a reminder for later. When you come back to your event, you'll have a complete record of what was said. Each note is timestamped and linked to your recorded audio. You can view a full transcript of your recording and listen back to the key moments at your own pace. During this presentation, we're going to take a look at effective notes. Create new notes or edit existing notes, adding as much detail as you need.
Etc. But on the left-hand side here is a copy of what would be the Google Slide note. And then on the far right is the transcription. The middle is the notes that the person added, the student added during the lecture. Oops. So that's clean. The next tool that's being used in some colleges, but not as many, and I think a little bit more in the work world is Otter AI.
Yeah,
Brian, I know
yeah,
you've been working with Otter AI a bit.
yeah. I think that I think they have a bigger presence on the West Coast because I think the corporate office is there, but they are besides Glean, they probably be the second most used platform for note taking. They also, what's exciting with them too is not only does it record it, but they use AI to provide transcripts and summaries of lectures as well. So it's a really good platform, and you can also have it automatically synchronized to your account, like your calendar, so that it automatically will run in the background and record without you having to manually turn it on. And there's also if you have Word 365, there's also the ability to use the transcription services right within Word. So if you have a computer, you're running Office 365, you can utilize the transcription services built right in. Right now, there's no limits in terms of the number of minutes, and it's a great service that Microsoft is providing.
Yeah, and that's the web-based version, right? Or also
Or
the installed
even in the installed application, it's now installed in the
for
application
Word.
itself
Okay.
as well. Yeah. And
Okay.
if you go under the microphone, there's a drop down, and you can move between dictation and transcription services. And even with the transcription services, you can also transcribe audio files like in an MP3 format. So if you recorded, let's say a file on your smartphone or even a digital recorder, you can also just drop the MP3 file, and it will transcribe it as well.
Yeah, that's great. And one thing I like about Otter AI is that there is a free version of it. Now, it doesn't have all the bells and whistles,
Right.
but you can do a fair amount with it. And again, if your goal is to help your student, get familiar with the tool before they get to college, the
Yep.
free version
Yep.
really,
It's
really
good.
is nice.
Yep.
All right, so we have something in the a question in the chat. What do you mean by permission required? All right, permission required means we should have explained that comment. If you're going to record audio in any situation, you always need to ask the person you're recording if they are okay with being recorded.
Yeah.
Many school districts have policies about recording in the classroom, and it's important to check. Some school districts say it's up to the teacher. So then you would need to ask that teacher before you record if it's okay to record during their lecture.
So we're talking about just the permission to record it using any audio platforms, not specifically to Otter AI. It could be for Glean,
Yes.
or it could be used for a digital pen
Yes.
that's recording, or even a smartphone. So the best,
Yes.
good practice, best practice is to, ask permission, or if it's an approved accommodation, it's still important to let the faculty member know that you're recording and it's in your accommodation plan. K-12 is really tough with audio recording and getting permission, though I have been able to utilize some LiveScribe pens in the past with on a case by case basis.
Yeah. And I've also seen some situations where, if if the student's family signs some sort of a release saying that this will only be used, it'll be kept private and it'll only be used for the purpose of studying for tests. Sometimes you can get around it or
Yeah.
find a way to compromise. But yeah, it can be a difficult
Yep.
issue to negotiate.
All right, we're going to speed up the next couple of slides. So this is a relatively new platform for taking notes. These are e-ink devices. Some are basically black and white. Some provide some color, which tends to be muted. So these are basically tablets that are utilized for note taking. They have a really nice feel. The nice part of these is that battery life is really great. It utilizes the same technology for those of you that may be familiar with the Kindle. So they're easy on the eyes. The battery life is very good, and it's a really good feel, and it lets students organize their notes much more effectively. So if you want to move away from paper, this can be an alternative to an iPad or even a computer for students that like to write. All these tools have handwriting recognition, and I always say mileage may vary. You can go from handwriting to basically editable text. And the middle device, the Onyx Books Ultra Tab C Pro, is more like an Android-based iPad, so you can install apps off of the Google Play Store and utilize them. So you can use it to read, Kindle books, or even to use something like MyScript or even OneNote is available. So again, it could be an interesting device for students that want to move away from using traditional paper to take notes, allowing them to organize. And if students have executive disorder difficulties or have trouble organizing paper, students can bring in PDFs, annotate on them, read on them. So this is a kind of a new platform for taking notes. Next.
Brian, we're getting close to the
All right,
end here.
let's go. Okay, so one of the more popular ones, again, you can get more information, is the Kindle Scribe. And Amazon sells that. What's nice about this is it integrates AI, so that when you take your own notes, it can actually add additional information to it as well. Next. Okay. We also have digital pens. These are, in this case, these are the Neo Smart pens that can not only take notes, but also utilizing the app can record audio. Let's go to the next one. So LiveScribe is coming out with a new platform called the INQ platform. This will allow you to record ink and audio. It will also provide students with full audio transcriptions, and they're also integrating AI features into the notes so that students can actually go beyond what you wrote. So imagine you're in an art history class, you're taking notes about impressionistic artists like Vincent van Gogh, and you want to find out more information. You can use the AI feature for that. This is a new product. It's just being released. I haven't tested it yet, but I have had some conversations with the developer, so I should be getting my hands on one shortly to test out. So this looks interesting. And of course, again, this allows students to organize their notes, and you can go from your handwriting to editable text as well. Xnote is another digital pen technology that utilizes AI, so you can go above and beyond your notes. We'll move past that.
Hi, this is.
And also, not to downplay, but there are a number of companies that have basically digital recorders that utilize an app with either Android or an iPhone, and then utilize AI. So you can take that recorder into a class, record a lecture. When you're done, the device sends the lecture over to the app, and then in the app uses ChatGPT to give full transcripts, summaries, and usually a mind map. And it's really a very small device. This is another device that can do audio transcription on the fly without Wi-Fi connectivity. And also, just for it's always important to know what you have and how you can use it. You can now use your voice memos on your iPhone to get full transcripts of lectures, which can be, again, another tool that students may use. One of the only, I say, downfalls of using your smartphones is battery life, and so that's why it might be better to use a small digital audio recorder than to use your smartphone. But our smartphones have tremendous capabilities built in. You can use voice memos, or also on the iPhone, you can also use the your notes. Right within Notes now has the ability to do audio transcription. We'll go past that. Wow, we got through a
Wow,
lot
we did it.
in an
Okay.
hour. Go ahead, take it away, Adam.
So we did go kind of quickly through those last couple slides. You have the full slide deck. If you have questions about any of the specific technologies that maybe you didn't get all of your questions answered, please feel free to reach out to us. But if you could take another minute or so and complete pages 4, 5, and 6 of the Menti poll, just to tell us, how we did today. And again, if you've ever been on a grant, you got to collect information about what you do. So that's what the Menti poll helps us with our grant organization. So if you could fill that out, it would be greatly appreciated. And here is our contact information. And it was a pleasure presenting with you today. And thanks for all of your great comments and questions. And let me just take a quick look and see if there's any more questions in the chat, or if someone would like to turn on their microphone, we might be able to stick around a little bit. Otherwise, feel free to reach out to us.
I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording. Thank you all so much for attending today.
Thanks for attending. Have it.